Hello, welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. We are diving into a conversation about 5 of our favorite rulebooks. 5 rulebooks that we think either do something correct when it comes to rulebook design, in my case, are pleasurable to read, or at least facilitate getting a game to the table as quickly as possible. I'm joined today with a young gentleman who started harassing us about a month ago because Horseless Carriage was coming out, and you were like, hey, listen, I'm working alongside Splotter, or at least doing some fan content with the support of Splotter, to produce a artistic or more thematic rendering, worded in your own way, of the Horseless Carriage rulebook, which, if anyone knows anything about Splotter games, those are games that should have multiple rulebooks because everyone learns differently and everyone has a different approach to it. So, Jonathan Boble, you want to introduce yourself to the people and let them know what you do and have done?
Yeah, I mean, I'm Jonathan Boble. I started as a teacher. I have a master's in education. So I started as teaching at a special education school. One of my trademarks, I mean, if you would call it that, I used Food Chain Magnate and Arkwright to teach these special education students economic principles. So as that sounds like a hard task. So I've had to rework these rules to make them work with this group of kids. So through that, I found out that I enjoy doing this. So I've actually stepped away from teaching now, and I'm doing this part-time, full-time, freelance. I've worked with a lot of companies, Capstone. Awaken Realms, Lucky Duck Games. I mean, literally, I've probably put out a lot of content in the last couple of years.
And you do a mix of some stuff has been paid for by the publisher, some stuff has been stuff that you're credited in the rule books and everything like that. And then some of the stuff you've done, similar to Horseless Carriage in a way, you've done a lot of your own free time, a lot of your passion, learning and crafting and getting feedback from the community and talking with the BGG community.
Horseless Carriage specifically was basically a passion project. I want to show the community what I can do. So this was not paid for at all.
We just had the opportunity to sit down and play it. That's one of the reasons why we invited you down.
Yeah.
What do you think? How did it work out? And is there stuff you'd change? Did you learn anything from sitting down to table it with a group of people?
Oh, absolutely.
That you would change the rule book because of?
Yeah, I feel like that's an essential thing. So when I'm writing a rule book, if I get to play it with people, it's going to have me change how things go. Yeah. So after playing that, there's some things that I would streamline that essentially would be the same thing, just to make it a lot easier. So yeah, but the gameplay is excellent. If you like puzzles, Feast for Odin, this game is bonkers.
Yeah, it's a lot. All right, so in this video, we've each chosen 5 rulebooks that we feel like should have the spotlight for a second. We don't want this to be too long-winded of a conversation, but we also want to hear from you. What are the rulebooks that you've been the most excited about, that you've enjoyed reading? Because for me, there's 2 different categories of rulebooks. 3 different. There's rulebooks that keep me from playing the game. Then there's rulebooks that just facilitate me playing the game. And then there's rulebooks where I feel like I've started playing the game as I start reading the rulebook. They're pleasurable enough, they're exciting enough, they let me visualize the game enough that as I'm sitting there reading through it, I think to myself, oh, this is fun. I'm having a great time. This is exactly how I want to spend my evening. And then of course, there's you just bang your head against the wall, struggling through it, and then you get the game to the table and you still don't know the rules.
Yeah, and that's happened a few times for me. Even though I write rule books and edit them, that doesn't mean that I magically know how to read all these rules. Yeah. We
want to start with one of yours?
Why don't we start with one of yours?
Okay, fine. All right.
Start with the greatest.
I am going to start with probably the most obvious pick on any Quackalope list, so I won't take too long on it, but Kingdom Death Monster. Now, I know for most of you who are watching this, you're going to look at this and you're going to say, this is an intimidating amount of rules, but the reality is the actual full rules are only something like 40 or 50 pages. Most of this is actually going to be development, artwork, and additional consequences as you play through this giant campaign. This is a fully contained book that not only has the rules reference guide, tables to roll on, but then on top of that, different story immersion moments that you're going to run into. So the rulebook is not as long as this book appears. It's only about here. Even then, you might say that this is a lot. Well, the first 8 or 9 pages of this has what I consider to be the best intro, the best get up and going system I have found in a campaign game to date. And I am comparing that to things like Gloomhaven and Jaws of the Lion and Aeon's Trespass Odyssey, which was a beast to get to the table. Kingdom Death has executed on a masterful approach to getting you into the game before you actually have to learn almost any of the rules.
Wow.
Works off an AI system. You flip this open, generate your character, so you're already building your character board, learn basics about your stats, learn a little bit about movement, and then from this point, you're drawing cards and you're beginning to fight this creature.
Wow.
It's going to script you through one or two of the actions, the first round of the game, and then at that point, about 5 pages into this rulebook of what you're actually producing, you're at a position where you're ready to begin playing. From there, you get a little bit more nuanced when it comes to some of the consequences you could have as you continue to draw cards, but you're already in the middle of the game at that point. So these might be things you're checking every 10 to 15 minutes of that first scenario. Not very much overhead. You're about 4 more pages there, and then finally, when you've defeated the creature, you end here. Survivors are victorious, and then you start the process of updating the settlement and actually reading through the rest of the rules. But you're 3 hours into the game. You've been playing
That's amazing.
for 2 to 3 hours now, enjoying the heck out of it. And so, yeah, you're ready at that point to sit down and dive into the next, 40 pages of rules and be ready for the next campaign. Now, a lot of people will skip through this, but if you do experience this game this way or teach this game to other players this way, this is an incredible way to do it. Kingdom Death is usually left off of lists because it is always included as number 0. Here, Kingdom Death needed a shout out because they really have done something right by this rulebook.
Wow, that's awesome. That's a game I haven't played yet, but it's something I'm definitely interested in. And if you're talking about that,
you're gonna grab something else?
That approach is great. I'd love. I should read that just to get more familiar with that.
For sure.
Because the only thing that I have comparable to that is Jaws of the Lion.
Yeah,
which
talk
you
about
mentioned.
how this works.
Yeah, this is fantastic. So even if you don't know anything about Jaws of the Lion, I have a brother that I'm just trying to get into board games. He bought this, and he knows nothing about games, and he's able to pick this up, and he started playing it. I'm surprised. He's like, oh, I'm on scenario 4 or whatever in like one day. And this is a guy that plays video games only.
Now, the thing that Jaws of the Lion does so well in this similar vein is that you start playing by opening up the flipbook, like you said, making that accessible. Some of the rules are contained there. You're also going to have a reference guide, which is helpful when you're looking for a key term. I think most heavy or midweight games should have that. But also, you're going to start playing by learning very, very simple, very, very basic rules from the get-go. And then every chapter, every scenario you play after that is just going to be adding a few more conditions, a few more rules, till by the end of 5 scenarios, you've not only taken down a boss, but you've learned all the rules for the game. It makes the learning process about 5 to 10 minutes before you start playing, as opposed to 40 minutes when you sit down and you read everything, and then you still don't have your mind wrapped around it.
Yeah, you do not need to read through all this. You could literally start with these first, what setup is that? This is a few pages. In the classroom, this was, like, I just brought it out and did it. I didn't need to do any work with this with the kids. It was just take it and go.
Yeah,
There's no preparation needed.
Okay. Jaws of the Lion, I think a list has to have Jaws of the Lion on it. Okay, let's talk about one of the rule books that spawned my concept for this list, Stardew Valley.
I love the video game.
The video game is incredible, right? And this is a cooperative version of the video game brought into a tabletop setting. You're working to gather resources. You're working to control for everything that's happening around the board and accomplish whatever your mission is. But as I was reading this rulebook is so clean, so straightforward, and so accessible that by the time I was maybe a few pages into this, probably about page 8, I was enjoying reading the rulebook because I could visualize playing the game. And then as I continued moving through, by the time I got to the end here, we've got a great how to play section, we've got great supporting artwork, we've got amazing graphics, really clear written text. And as I made it to the end here, I was thinking to myself, I just really enjoyed the last 15, 20 minutes that it took to sit and read through this, and I feel like I'm ready to set up and play the game. And then finally, they of course have adjusting difficulty areas, they have a quick reference section, so anything that I missed, anything that I didn't quite remember, I don't have to flip back through the rulebook, I can reference it here, and they have all their icons beautifully displayed on the back.
And I mean, who doesn't love, I mean, look at that cow. Like, I mean, if you love this theme too, it's just a joy, like, anything that has stuff like this, just happy little characters around.
It's gonna be
I like my heavy games, but it's just enjoyable if you like that kind of thing.
So awesome game, but the rulebook itself was enjoyable to read. Even if you don't have the game, grab the rulebook, give it a spin through. All right, what's next on your list?
Cool. Well, let's take a look at this Honey Buzz.
Ooh, Honey Buzz. Okay.
So if you listen, you hear that. I mean, it's a small thing, but feel that texture. I mean, I love that.
It's a high quality rulebook.
High quality rulebook. And now, I play a lot of games. I mean, I've played over 1,500, like literally different ones. So I've read 1,500 rulebooks at least. Like I have them all labeled, but marked somewhere. But so
You
when
have
I
a
go into
catalog of all the rule books you've read?
yeah, I have a log of everything.
Talk about commitment.
Yeah, I mean, when I do something, I try to do it as well as I can.
Holy cow.
But when I get to a lighter game, like this looks beautiful, I'm like, well, this rulebook's probably gonna suck, you know, unfortunately.
Okay.
I mean, but when I went through this, I was like, this has a good texture, but the content is just so perfect. You could ask my wife, like when we went through this, I was like, I couldn't even find anything to recommend to them. There might have been like one period. I mean, but everything else was so clear.
Just well written, well laid out, not a lot of
yeah.
mistakes. And so from your perspective, which is interesting because it's a different perspective than mine,
Oh,
I'm talking about the experience of play. Whereas in a situation like this, you're actually talking about going to what publishers? This again, Elf Creek Games, and looking for errors or looking for mistakes and saying like, hey,
because that's my job.
Y'all did a really good job. Like, there's not a lot of feedback I can give you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. When I went through this, man, nothing, and it looks great too. Like, I mean,
yeah,
it's very clean visually.
I find Elf Creek really puts a lot of time into the products they make, especially when it comes to layout and design and making them accessible. So. I haven't played this for some time, but I do remember this being a very easy one to get up and running. So.
Yeah, and even though it's light, it's like.
Let's
really,
go over one that might not be on everyone's list, but this one's on my mind because I just recently got this to the table with Shira and the crew. Now, I had not played Chinatown, which is an awesome little bidding and negotiation game. I had not played Chinatown for something like a year and a half, maybe 2 years. I opened my shrinked copy of it to get it to the table with my friends, and within about 5 minutes, I was able to go from kind of remembering the game to very much remembering how to run the game, how to set up, how to get it. Now, it's not too heavy. It's a very memorable game, but this rulebook did an incredible job of allowing me to quickly answer questions that came up and made it so that instead of needing or desiring something like a quick start guide where I actually can take a game that I tabled 6 months ago and not have to read the whole rulebook, but instead get it to the table sort of, this was one of those where the rulebook itself operated as a very accessible, very easy get up and running system, and I just appreciated that. I thought it was straightforward. It is not fancy. It is not elegant. But man, does it work at what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things with rulebooks don't have to be beautiful. They don't have to be written with a ton of flavor text. Sometimes being utilitarian is what a game needs.
Yeah, and that is the priority for me too. Like, as long as you get what you need. Beautiful is just a side thing. It's nice if it's there, but...
What's next on your list?
Let's see if we're going to counter with that. Let's go with
Ooh, another older
the
classic. Yeah, Through the Ages.
CGE games. Their games are amazing. So take a look at this. This is probably considered one of the heaviest Civilization games.
This is a very, I mean, you're talking hours and hours of play. I think it's like a 30 to maybe 40-minute teach. There's a lot of information here.
But now when you hear that, you're like, well, I can't deal with that.
No.
I bet you no one can. But this is kind of like a trick. So this rulebook will help you if you need to go reference something.
Okay.
But there's an app for this. Like, I love this app. You could not look at this at all. This is exactly how I learned this game. Go onto that app, and the guy will talk to you. The designer of this, he'll put his little face up, and he'll be like, oh, add me as a card to your, like, as he's talking to you on the side of the screen. It's like, it's a video game of you playing the game. You don't need to know anything. And he's going to teach you the rules by talking to you, like little jokes. Like, because, like, he's playing as a card in the game. It's just the most creative tutorial way to learn a rule.
So you're saying that the digital version of this handles the rules in such a elegant way that you don't even necessarily need the rulebook other than setup, of course, and kind of like general flow on the table for the tabletop experience. Interesting. I personally haven't played the app yet. I do need to check it out. I have played this on the table. I do know that this is a beast of a game to learn. And this rulebook, I'm going to be honest, seems intimidating. So I would definitely, if I was going to go pick something out, go for something like a tutorial app for a game that is this heavy. That being said, I'm very glad to hear that the tutorial app is good.
Yeah, and to be clear, it's a tutorial in the game itself. So you're actually playing the real game, and Vlada is there talking to you,
but learning the structure of it.
And amazing for a game of this weight.
Cool.
Like,
All right.
best experience.
I think I do know that the BGG ratings, the review, the love around through the ages has largely came through the app, which means that facilitating the play in a different format is one of the ways that a company can look at helping people get more and more of it to the table.
Yeah.
Pulling over, one of my favorite companies when it comes to rulebooks. This is going to be Orange Nebula Games. This is Unsettled. I could have picked Vindication as well.
Wow.
What I love about what ONEB does when it comes to rulebooks, and it's something that's particular to me. Some people this does not jive with, but ONEB fills this rulebook with flavor text and little bits of story and more information about the world and the science. And it's done by hiding little sentences or being quippy with, the people that are here. It's done by having this little robot that's popping up and giving you reminders, having him peek around corners and let you know where things are important. I really, really like this rulebook, and I really, really love the stuff that ONEB creates all the way down to the rulebooks. I find that when a rulebook is giving me a bit of flavor text, a bit of story, a bit of theme as I'm reading through it, it helps integrate me into the game environment and the game world, and really helps me feel like I'm ready to play. And then you got a big stop section. Don't read anything farther, and they have a fantastic glossary section breaking down all the rules, whereas most people will do glossary with a reference target. This is a full-on, ambitious glossary that is a index and actually breaks down the rules, the structure, allows you to search by
really
key
good.
terms, search by icons as well. It's one of those things where publishers sometimes avoid doing this because they're worried about people stumbling across it or it being too much or it's too much work
It's
to get
hard to
layered
check in the industry, yeah.
But this is insanely helpful when it comes to running the game because the game's all about being hyper modular. And so the rules are changing from scenario to scenario. And in a situation like this, you might not encounter some of these icons until you play 2 or 3 games.
Yeah.
But then when you do, you get to open this up and you have a very quick, easy reference index to sort. So, ONEB,
fantastic.
keep doing what you're doing.
Very good.
What do you have next?
All right.
Ooh, a little Chip Theory Games.
Cycle.
Now, I have not always been a fan of Chip Theory Games rulebooks. Like Too Many Bones
Too many bones. We didn't talk about this
was
before.
a struggle for me to get through.
I tried to play Too Many Bones, and we played it, and I never played it again.
Okay.
That rulebook was just did not jive with me.
Okay.
So why am I putting up a Chip Theory Games rulebook here? Well, everybody stumbles sometimes, but they took feedback. They really stepped up the game. This is like such a step up that it makes me want to just respect the company, because if a company can know that companies that want to improve, I respect that a lot. Like Awakened Realms with the Great Wall, they put out a whole new rulebook with feedback from the community. Like, that's phenomenal. So
you're saying Burn Cycle here is where you see an example of Chip Theory Games listening and responding to the community feedback,
absolutely,
and really taking time to get and continue improving on a rulebook.
Yeah, and
Cool.
I mean they have this here, and you could see the other books here. I mean the floor plan is just separate, but what you need is easy to find. You got the reference here and to learn to play. So it's like they're kind of catering to 2 different groups. If you want to just learn how to play, you don't have to try to search through there. It's easy to find what you're looking through in here. But I mean, one of my favorite parts is they got these plastic. So, when I'm taking a bath, I could grab these and it's an easy way to...
You're going to sit and read them in the bath?
Yeah, just relaxing. It's a way to learn my game and not have to worry about... just relax. Relax and learn.
I don't know that I recommend people learn your rulebook in the bath, but sure. I mean, why not? Go for it. You do you.
Yeah.
All right, my last one, I actually couldn't find the big rulebook for this, so I ended up grabbing the small rulebooks from the new expansions, but Ivy Studios, just like Orange Nebula, is going to be one of these companies, again, that just makes everything as pristine as it can be. Their rulebooks are accessible, they're easily sourced, they're easy to sort through, they have great indexes letting you know where everything is, and not only that, but their graphic design and their artwork and their theming always matches up to the game that you're playing through. So very, very helpful. One of the things that I think Ivy Studios does better than other companies that I've seen is going to be the way that they actually build out their graphics and then have very, very accessible and well-written reference points for each one of the little icons they have.
Cool.
So as you're playing, as you're going through here, you're going to have great artwork and great layouts, very clean, easy-to-read card graphics, good breakdowns showing you examples of how to play, how turns actually initiate, how things sequence, and I just think they do better than most on this. And one of the reasons is because they're a graphics animation company, and so all the stuff that's placed in here is clean, looks professional. I know there's a lot of games out there that in a book this small would have graphics that would just be completely illegible, completely, you wouldn't be able to use it to actually process or understand how the gameplay flows.
And especially one of that size, like you're looking at it right there, that's very small, but very
Moonrakers,
readable.
Ivy Studios, insanely accessible, a fantastic company, and great rule books. Okay, who's your last one? What do you have?
Last one for me is, you might be wondering, Destiny's, Lucky Duck Games. So you might have heard about them because of their innovations in the app world. So this rule book is very short, but the best thing about this, the best thing about this rule book is very close to the beginning. It's like, you don't even need to read this. And I'm like, okay, just play the game.
Because they've designed a system where, I mean, Lucky Duck does some of the best app games in the industry, and they designed a system in Destiny's that allowed you to actually get up and running without this being necessary. Now, this breaks down gameplay flow, will teach you the basics of how the game operates, but really, simple, accessible game, supported extremely well by the app. You don't even need a setup or anything because the app is actually going to walk you through the entire setup system. And they, of course, have little QR codes that you can reference that help you work through things. Each one of the cards does that as well. So you're actually exploring and experiencing brand new rules as you're playing, too.
Yeah, and
I mean, look, the amount of glossary terms they have, it's a pretty straightforward game.
It is.
Yeah.
But, and you brought the setup. I love that because some games don't even have pictures in their setup.
Sure.
Like something over there.
That's true.
But
horseless carriage.
Yeah. But this one, your app is like going to walk you through it. So how you can't get more seamless than that. It's like someone telling you, okay, do this.
And not only that, but I can attest that their app makes this game so playable because of how accessible it makes the rules and how easy it makes setup and design. There we have it. There's our 10 rule books that we think you should spend time reading just because you enjoy them. You're going to grab Roads and Boats.
Oh, yeah, well...
This is not... You want an example of a arguably... Actually, I've heard it's not the worst, but not the best either. I
mean, they use a lot of colors.
Splatter Games is one of those games, or one of those publishers that they put out very, very binary stuff. It is as straightforward and to the point as possible. To the point, like with the element that every sentence in Splatter Games rulebooks matter. If you miss a sentence, you might play the game
one sentence
wrong.
Here.
One sentence, literally. Every sentence matters. It is how they approach design. It's how they publish stuff. We are massive fans of them. Both of us, and then us as a channel and my personal gaming group. That being said, I do find that a lot of Splatter Games rulebooks, even the most elegant game I have ever played, which is Bus, can be a bit of a task to get up and running and get to the table, which is why your fan-made rulebook
and I bring this up, maybe the rulebook is rough, but this game is phenomenal.
Oh, this game's amazing.
Yeah.
This game is probably my second favorite Splatter game, and if I was able to play it more, no, it wouldn't beat Bus. If I was able to play it more, it might hit my top 10 of all time, though.
Yeah. Cool. It's a game more plays definitely help.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Let us know, what rulebooks do you like?
You tell us.
Yeah, leave a comment down below. Either way, we will see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.